Hello and welcome to Jedi and the Mailman, episode number 10. Unbelievable. The show where two old friends aim to deliver the best Star Wars talk in the galaxy. And maybe here on this 10th episode, we'll actually nail it. Jimmy the Old Guy Jedi. I'm Mike the Mailman. Check out Explore the Force on all the socials and tune in to the latest podcast where Jimmy, Jack, and their special guest talk all about the 10th anniversary of Rebels.
Yeah, that was a fun conversation. I overshot how much we should talk about, thinking that we wouldn't have much to talk about. I think I could talk about Rebels until I'm blue in the face.
Yeah.
So it's just great. I haven't rewatched that season. I haven't watched that show in a long time. I wanted to try to watch it before Ahsoka came out. I just didn't get to it. And I watched about 10 or 12 episodes leading up to that. Man, it was just so much fun. Yeah. It's better the second time because you know where the stories are going and everything. And then Jo came on. She was awesome, member of the UK Garrison. She's a little bit older than me. We don't have many guests that are older than me.
Right.
So, I've been, same age as Detail, same age, I think, as Kev Jenkins and I were close to the same age. But it's nice to, have people on there that have been, she was in the theater and saw it. So that was pretty cool. And, different perspectives on life. So it was pretty fun to talk in Star Wars with her. She's pretty cool.
It was a fun episode to listen to.
But so here we go. We've hit double digits.
Buddy.
Ooh. So found out Tahu is a rock and roller down under.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a band guy. We were chatting a little bit on social medias. It's pretty cool. That's what I love about Star Wars, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a guy from Australia. He's actually from New Zealand, living in Australia, rocking out. And, we got a new buddy that I would never have known existed if it weren't for Star Wars and stuff.
It is so cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So how was your week?
Pretty good. Back to work after a nice long vacation. Weather's been good. Mail's been heavy. Getting overtime every day, making that money. Day off today. Got a bunch of stuff on the house. The weather's finally got back to like 60 degrees during the day, so it's been real pleasant. Yeah, just living the life.
Nice. Well, all right. And also, I guess from the podcast, I made a bold prediction that our Pittsburgh Steelers would be victorious against the Cowboys, but I was unfortunately pretty terribly wrong.
Yeah.
But
our Steelers
dedicate to the podcast now because football season is over, I think.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it today. Our Steelers are like a cancer patient that is relying on holistic treatment. They're changing their diet slightly and they're taking all the supplements and stuff like that, maybe going to a guru, but not going and getting the proper treatment. So they're sick every day. And, every once in a while they'll have a massive game and they'll think like, oh, well, we're getting better. Instead of just going to the doctor, getting the cancer taken out, go through the chemotherapy, be down for a year or so, and then come back roaring and healthy again. Yeah, it's frustrating, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I don't know what to do. I'm not a football coach.
There's nothing we can do. Enjoy what we got.
Yeah.
Hockey season starts tomorrow, so I can move on to that.
All right. Well, do you want to tell I don't think we have much news. Anything like that stood out? Fortunately, nothing negative. I did want to give a shout out to everyone in the southern part of the United States that's getting crushed by
trouble coming,
storms, and they've got more trouble on the horizon. Just wish them all the best of luck. Get out of there, be safe. I've seen a lot of evacuation videos, and it's terrifying. I've got cousins in North Carolina that have had to evacuate on the last one. They think we'll be fine on this one, but it's scary times. We're fortunate to get to do a silly thing like a podcast and live feeds. And there's a lot of people in our, just in America alone and other places that are not doing great. So I want to keep that in perspective. So people get fired up about things that we say today. In the grand scheme of things, what does it really matter? It's just it's just Star Wars, not
Yep,
just Star Wars. It's important to us, but there are a lot more intense things out there going on in the world.
absolutely.
So, uh-oh, let's see what this guy says. Tyler says, just always support, always my team won the National Rugby League Grand Final Sunday, the Mighty Panthers. I'm glad to hear
Nice.
that. Someone on this podcast has a winning team. So awesome. All right, Mike. So what's on the docket today?
On the docket today, recently, um, who came out? What was that? The Hollywood Reporter, was it?
Hollywood Reporter, yes, sir.
Yeah. So Disney has now been in charge of the Star Wars for 12 years. And the Hollywood Reporter was exploring the idea of, is Disney bad at Star Wars? How are they doing with this? 12 years in, how well are we doing with the franchise? So, what have you prepared for us here, Jimmy?
All right, so this is the article. Like, we don't want to take credit for a lot of the information we're going to talk about tonight was already prepared for us. We're going to just chat about how we see some of it, and we've got a voice message from Imperial Activity, some other people on here as well too. But Disney bad at Star Wars and analysis, high budget, scrap projects, fan backlash. It's been 12 years since Disney bought Star Wars and its galaxy far, far away. Arguably has too many broken toys. This is by James Hibbard, October 3rd, 2024. And again, the Hollywood Reporter. So we'll read his views. We'll discuss. We've got things to talk about. Um, I mean, it's a good article. I don't
Hmm.
know. I think you should get on there. If you haven't read it yet, folks, you should get on there. You can find it on the internet. It's free. It has a lot of good numbers and things like that in there. Um, and I think that I know that we've upset some people by the way we titled this episode. Uh, but so yeah, we'll get to that. So let's go ahead and we can just dive into this.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think all right. So it talks out and it says here we go. So it just starts talking about the buying. They bought it for was it like $4.04 billion or something like that from George Lucas, and then somewhere down the line at the end, spoiler alert, it says that Disney's made roughly $12 billion off of the franchise. So they've more than
Pretty
doubled
nice
it.
return.
Yeah, and I think some of these numbers and things like that we've seen, you just never know what's true,
Yeah.
and I just I don't know. Um, we'll get into some of all these things at the parks and stuff like that. But yeah, so the first thing they're going to kind of talk about are the movies. So we're going to kind of dive into that. But Mike, you kind of come into Star Wars in a fury, right? You've always been a Star
Hmm.
Wars fan, and then um, you just kind of dove into it head first.
Hmm.
And so most of what you've watched, and you've probably binged all of it more recently than most Star Wars fans. How do you feel about the 12 years of Star Wars under the Disney, Lucasfilm under Disney?
I'll tell you, if I hadn't dove in the way that I this past year and a half, whatever it was, I'd probably have a different opinion about this. But just looking at the movies that have come out, Force Awakens, a lot of fun, and then it just declined from there. Other than Rogue One, there in the middle, was a great movie, great success, and whatnot. But yeah, if just looking, and that I would think that most casual fans, that's their biggest touchstone, the biggest connection point with Star Wars is the big blockbuster movies. Um, not everybody watches cartoons. Not everybody is on Disney Plus and watches all the shows and whatnot. So just looking at those big things that are out there for the general public or draws in the general public, before I dove in, I would have said, yeah, I don't know that they're doing a great job. But at the same time, being a Star Wars fan, just having more Star Wars out there was a good thing too. I mean, prior to movies being released, Disney getting their hands on this franchise, there's nothing. The prequel, the last thing that we saw, being our age, the prequels were pretty disappointing when they first came out. Not maybe in hindsight, have a little bit of it, but Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, you know?
Yeah.
Star Wars, it's not the best Star, but then, like I said, I think we'll dive into this more as we go along here. But for us, more dedicated fans, which I'm kind of heading in that direction now, there's it's a completely different feel. You know,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, kind of, I see your point. There's a lot to unpack here.
yeah,
So
for
we
sure.
dove right into. I mean, we've got 12 years of material. I remember being a student at Penn State, and one of the guys on the team came in and showed me this article that the Disney had bought Star Wars and that there was a new movie coming out. And I was like, no way, that's so cool. Wasn't really
Mhm.
super tied into things at that moment in my life, but um, yeah, I am into the point where I'm like, without Disney having bought and taken over, are we getting any more Star Wars?
Right. And
So
if we had, how much would it be? The prequels were George's baby. If George continued, would we have more movies like the prequels? So, you know, in that
yeah,
vein, getting something from Disney was something.
yeah, and that's the thing too about George. There's hero activities here. All right, he's a little late, he says, but hey, we're just glad you're here, buddy. Always good to have you. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've heard rumors about what George's uh sequel trilogy was going to be, and it sounds a
Mhm.
little bit weird.
Yeah.
All about diving into the diving into the force, literally diving into like these almost Ant-Man esque going into the quantum realm kind of thing.
Mhm.
But that's we'll talk about that some other time. But um, yeah, I mean, without it, there's not so I mean, celebrations are still going strong. You can't tell me that it's probably not stronger now that Disney um, has bought the franchise and is able to push things and has announcements and what is he says 12 years and a half of that is what roughly 6 to 7 period. Yeah, I mean they started releasing movies pretty quickly. What 3 years?
Yeah.
2015, I think they started. So pretty good chunk of time, and they've gotten a lot of different things. And you'll see that as we're talking tonight, how much stuff they have pumped out.
Mhm.
And um, I think people are quick to say, well, no, it's bad because they don't like one thing in particular. Like, so if you take the Acolyte, people who don't like the Acolyte, they're going to say Disney Star Wars is bad because they didn't like the last thing they saw. But if you take a
Mhm.
look back, did you like the Mando? Did you like Rogue
A lot of
One?
people did.
Did you like Andor? Did you like,
Mhm.
these things that people did like? You don't get those either. So, um, I think it's hit or miss with this, and we'll make our final decisions at the end. But let's
Yeah.
take a look at the movies and how things went. And this article kind of goes through this. I think that they have a bit of a this article has a bit of a negative attitude towards Disney Star Wars, but you should really read it yourselves to decide that. But I'm going to bring this up real quick. So I'm going to make that a full thing. They don't need to see our faces. Where is that other option? All right. Well, I'll find it. Anyway, so we've got in there's too many buttons for me to have to deal with. We need a show producer. But anyways, 2015, the future for Star Wars is bright. 2015, over $2 billion made. It's like 2.03 billion worldwide. So anyone that oh, it looks like Mike disappeared. I know he's having some trouble with his internet. Looks like I'm having trouble with my internet too. But we'll keep going. So 2015, over $2 billion. And here he comes back in, maybe. So you there, Mike?
I'm there.
Yay.
Dropped me
All
out for
right.
some reason.
Yeah, my internet is being wonky, so I'm not sure if it's your end or my end today. We're just still talking about this. We're going to go through the timeline. 2015, over $2 billion made. I mean, if you're a Disney investor and you see this, you just got like big dollar signs in your eyes after the
Yeah.
very first project goes crazy. And then this weird indie film called Rogue One comes out and it makes $1 billion, not even tied to the Star Wars franchise, or not tied to the Skywalker portion of it.
Right.
Knocked it out of the park. They've got after this movie, they had what? Boba Fett movie, Kenobi movie, offshoot movies of every single legacy character. I mean, the world. I mean, I thought we were going to be drowning in Star Wars,
I
and
think we all did.
um, so what's this? Everyone's force playing up, yeah. Um, and then of course we had The Last Jedi came out. This is where things I think kind of start going sideways for the
Yes.
fandom, because we have animation mixed in here as well. Because I
Mhm.
believe I'm not sure what was the release date. Well, we'll get into that stuff. But
Yeah.
release date for some of the animated series. But then, of course, you got that makes $1.3 billion. Oh no, I've only made $1.3 billion. But that
Yeah.
is kind of nervous if you didn't like, um, and
If you
then of
don't have
course,
the perspective.
yeah, and then of course, Solo comes in and just from a financial point of view, it does not do well. I hope that someday it gets the um, I hope that it someday gets the love that it deserves.
Mhm.
Makes Lucasfilm a little bit more money, and of course we've got Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker comes out in 2019, makes a little bit less, makes $1 billion. Now, in perspective, that did cost almost $419 million to make. So um, I don't know if that means it's clearing $1 billion, or if that means that's what it made in the box office, and then they got to pay half that back to the actors.
Yeah. It's never clear. They're always cagey about all that because different actors and all have different contracts, and they make more studio cagey about how much it made and what it made and when it made it, and all that stuff. So it's really hard to nail any of that down for sure. But one
Yeah,
thing I always think, like, keep in perspective here. Okay, so The Force Awakens was an absolute cultural phenomenon. Like, you've got the main trio, Han, Luke, Leia, all coming back for a movie that you never thought was going to ever happen again. Like that
yeah,
group of actors, they were done as far as Star Wars was concerned. You were never going to see them on the screen again, and they managed to squeeze them all into that movie and come out with something that was just phenomenal. So that was going to make. I mean, all the fans, all the fans are going to come out and see that. All the casual fans, everybody. So that's where you get that $2 billion.
oh yeah,
Even in the Force or Last Jedi, 1.3 billion. I mean, it's a lot less than 2 billion, but that's still 1.3 billion. Like, you kind of lose perspective of that point 0.3, thinking that, well, it's not that much because it's just a point 0.3. It's still, there's a billion that, it's huge.
yeah,
I mean, they're
yeah.
making
No,
money.
yeah, and then this is the one that I think Force Awakens comes out the first couple weeks. I mean, everyone's in love with this movie, and then
Hmm.
negativity comes in while they're just and a lot of us. I always take it by how did I feel when I walked out of the theater. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I walked out of the Force Awakens. I mean, just like, oh my gosh, Star Wars is back. I loved it. Then you start
Hmm.
hearing all this story. All they do was rehash the beginning, and there's a great intro, and it just people just start beating it down,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure why how that um, overwhelms the the majority of the news. What we got here? We've got. Let me see. Anakin Skywalker says hello there. Hello, Anakin.
Ooh.
Imperial Activity says Clone Wars season 7 was 2020. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
trying to wonder when Rebels came out, but
14, 10 years ago. Remember? You did a show on
oh,
it.
that's right. Yeah, I just did a whole show on that. And it came out 2 years after. Um,
He's a history teacher, folks. He doesn't do
yeah,
math.
wow. I don't do dates though. I'm not good at dates. sense at all.
Oh, me neither. As long as you could fit it into the big perspective. This
Yeah.
happened before this, and this happened before that. Who cares about the actual date?
But, some of that negativity came in there. Then, of course, Rogue One happens,
Mhm.
and um, you know, oh, hang on a second. Here we go. Because, oh my god, a neat way to gauge it. How did I feel? Yeah, and you'll see when we get to some of these other ones. I didn't feel great about them, but um, and then Poptography says, "Hey Patrick, each film has its own unique scenes that make good Star Wars." Yeah, I think
Mhm.
there's things in all of these to love.
Oh, yeah,
Rogue
for sure.
One nuts. Walked out of there like, holy rip, that was nuts. That was the craziest thing I've ever
Mhm.
seen. The Last Jedi did not go well for me. I walked out of there and I met up with my friend Danny because we're going back in to watch it a second time. And I looked at him and go, I don't think I like that. So it didn't land for me. And he's like, yeah, I didn't like it. He had seen it with some friends and I had seen it with some friends and we came together to see it at the IMAX together at
Mhm.
like midnight. I mean, I fell asleep the second time, which if I loved it, I wouldn't have done.
Right.
Well, of course, we all know my love affair for Solo, so I feel like I really don't need to dive into that much more. And then I liked The Rise of Skywalker. I thought people complained about the first 40 minutes of it going too fast, but I was like, it was intense. I mean, could they do things better? Yes. When I left the theater, I was happy. I wasn't fulfilled, but I was
Yeah.
happy. So I don't know. Um, you know, it's
I
really
would say
hard to.
too, just looking at those numbers, if you're any studio who released 5 movies, was there 5 on there? Yeah, 5
Yeah,
movies,
five live
and
action.
4 of them made $1 billion or more, I think you'd take that deal. Even the one stinker, which if you
Yeah,
go
I
back
mean,
and watch it again with on a clean slate, it's not bad. It's a really good movie. You know, even that movie only making that much money, you're still doing pretty darn good.
they made their money back.
And then
That's
some.
not really how it works because you're paying people and doing all these things, but you paid $4 billion with your first three movies. You made was it
You
four
got your
point?
investment back
Yeah,
just
you
about.
almost got the investment back completely, and then you start. You lose a little bit of money with Solo, and then you bounce back and you make pretty decent clip there. But
Mhm.
Popsogger says Solo did so bad. Yeah, I mean, I tried. I went and saw it like 5 times in the theater, so I really, really, really
Yeah.
tried. Jedi Niners here. Hello, friends. So glad I could catch it live. Yeah, well, glad you're here
Nice
too.
to have you.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Um,
Yeah, with the solo thing too, how much money could it made if we talked about this in the show when we, went over the solo, but how much could it have made if things would have gone better with the release date and, just different things in the world, it could have been made a lot more money.
oh, easily. I
Maybe
mean,
talking
Christmas.
about it being such a bad, you know, hadn't been marketed properly and released at the right time, this and that. So yeah, these things are
Yeah,
going to happen.
yeah. Release time for that, and then, I don't want to go into all the history of that, but that was
Yeah.
weird. It was like
Hmm.
people were being punished. You give Kathleen Kennedy, the grief or the appreciation that she deserves, and that's totally up to each fan individually.
Right.
Um, but it did feel like they kind of put her in a corner and didn't let her move things around. Backlash from The Last Jedi
Yeah.
really kind of put the damper on Solo, and I think people who protested missed out on an amazing movie, and they just went in there.
Mm.
Just, I mean, it's like a mini acolyte before it even started. They were
Yeah.
like, "I'm not going to go see this. I'm not giving Disney our money," but they still made tons of money. Like it's not like,
Yeah.
oh no, they're broke. So, um, we got also I wanted to give a shout out to people on Instagram. We got Brits is on there, Virtual Cantina Network is on there. Thanks for joining us. Charty Party RC is here. Keystone underscore Cuisine has joined us. So thanks everyone for joining in. Um,
Big party tonight.
yeah, so good times, good times, good times. But yeah, I mean, I think the films, they talk about, let the past die, kill it if you have to, kind of moving on. He does focus on the story. He talks about how they didn't really have a plan, or if they did have a plan, they didn't stick to it. And of course, all the different controversies that surround this trilogy, given the fact that they had all these different directors and they fired people, they hired people, they didn't have a steady through line. That is pretty poorly done, in my opinion. I still will always say that. I mean, you can tell that I like the Last Jedi. It doesn't fit the other two movies.
Hmm.
Um, I think by itself, and we'll get into that stuff a little bit later with Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson, but, um, I don't know, I just they made good things, they made some great movies. I mean, out of all those, I only walked out of the theater once unhappy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
1 out of
And
5,
you know
80% of the time I was happy,
right.
so
It would have been nice if they had a plan for the trilogy and stuck to it and saw it through. That would have been much better. But at the same time, one thing I am appreciative of is they saw it through. And instead of like a franchise like DC, for instance,
Mhm, mhm.
how many times have they restarted that universe like over and over
Yeah,
again?
Batman do we need?
We haven't had that problem in Star Wars yet. God willing, we never do. But
Yeah.
that could have been a disaster if they just decided, well, this isn't working out, and just decided to reboot Star Wars. That would be awful. So I gotta say, I movie wise, I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, and I think that that's what people want too. I mean, this hiatus from the theater is maddening to me as a Star Wars
Mhm.
fan. I think the Star Wars needs I love being able to watch the movies on my TV and having the animated shows, and I love Rebels, and I love all these things, but man, going to the theater to watch a Star Wars film is what it's all about.
Mhm.
So, but,
Yeah, an event when 5, 6 year movies is making $1 billion or more. It's an event.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, 100%. So, um you know, but yeah, we'll get into the future projects here in a little bit.
Mhm.
Now they have done a pretty I do think, like, I know people want with Kathleen Kennedy and stuff, they're frustrated with her. My biggest frustration is not really with her. I mean, she has brought us so many things that I love, and I can't imagine doing that job. People who think they could do it better are fools.
Yeah.
Um, but like, stop announcing stuff that doesn't happen. Like, that's a bad look. Like,
Yes, please.
if you
Yeah.
had a friend who kept telling you they were gonna do something for you and they didn't do it, they're not gonna be your friend
Uh-huh.
for very long, so and that's
Absolutely.
kinda how I look at that. Like, stop announcing things until, like, it's about to come out. Like, don't even
Yeah.
if you have to keep doing that to keep the hype alive, then that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
But at the same time, maybe that's just a product of what this world is today, like with internet culture and whatnot. Even if even if you try to hide it, you might not be able to. You know what I mean? Bringing these people in for meetings and whatnot, and having them bouncing ideas, and it's not always going to be. You're not always going to be able to keep that wraps. It would be nice if culture is and everybody's looking for a scoop, looking for a story and something like that. So maybe it's not all Star Wars, on Disney and Star Wars to blame. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'd certainly be nice if you didn't know about something until it was in development going forward.
Yeah, like they were making it. Yeah, I mean, I like, having a plan. They're trying to do the whole, Marvel Phase 47 or whatever they're on
Whatever it is,
now,
yeah.
but it doesn't work if you're not gonna if you don't have the follow through.
Mhm.
Jedi Knight says same. Plus, I'm 55 years old. I'm worried I'm running out of time waiting. And that's funny is that thought has crossed my mind sometimes.
Yeah,
You start getting there, and Mike and I are almost 50, and you start thinking about things. I'm like, what's going to happen when like I don't get to see any more Star Wars? You sit there, and
yeah.
I don't want to like compare our lives to like the movie Fanboy, where that young man he does die from cancer, and it's
Mhm.
horrible. But he got to see it, but and it has a happy ending in a way because that boy got to see some of that, but think of everything he's and it's just
Mhm.
like I did. It's
Yeah.
funny, Jedi Knight, I know you say that because I've had that thought in my brain where like, man, like I'm not, if they keep delaying things, I'm gonna be so old that I'm not gonna be able to appreciate anything. You know, I hear you, Jedi
Yeah.
Knight. 58 for me comes on the 20th. Oh, happy birthday,
Oh, happy
Imperial!
birthday.
Oh, today is Teddy's birthday. Holy crap! I got to call Teddy after this is over.
Uh-oh.
Star Wars is still be here long after us. I know, but doesn't it make you sad a little
Yeah.
bit to think that
A little.
you're not going to get to see all of it, or maybe whatever you believe in. Maybe you do maybe you get a front row seat for it all. Who knows? Um, right? Kind of depressing. Lots aloud. Yeah, it's a little depressing. You're like, oh no. Hey, Princess Katana Mishimi. I'm sorry if
Chima.
I Mishima. All right. Hello, Grand Inquisitor. Yeah. Happy birthday to Imperial. Very cool. But yeah, so movies great. I think. I mean, this whole Grogu, Mando and Grogu thing, and then the rumors about a new one coming out, the trilogy that Giancarlo
Yeah.
seemingly blurted out.
Uh-huh.
You know, who knows? We'll see. I just wanted a
Yeah.
movie. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's Ray's movie. I don't care if it's the Dawn of the Jedi. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
Mando. I'm a little worried about Mando being a little campy, but you
Yeah,
know,
we can get into that when we get to
still,
future
still,
projects.
still wants more Star Wars. So, but I think overall, Mike, would you say the movies thumbs up?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I've like you said about me diving back into Star Wars here and kind of going on this deep dive. I'm really anxious to have a rewatch of the sequel trilogy. I think I told you before. Like I saw Force Awakens multiple times, but then the others, it was one or two viewings of each one, and I really want to go back now with this, more knowledge and whatnot, with fresh eyes, and kind of take another look at those and just see, see what happens. But yeah, I'd say overall, we have Star Wars. Star Wars
yeah,
movies, a lot of money. They're
yeah.
not always exactly what we want. They're telling the stories, and I think they're successful.
We got Chris from Seriously Star Wars. Hey, Chris, how's it going, bud? I may actually be joining him and Patrick and Lex this Saturday. I'm not sure yet, but hopefully that works out. So everyone that's in the chat and over there on Instagram, movies overall, all 5 movies. You got to say, thumbs up or thumbs down. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down for the movies. What you think, um, so we can kind of
Get
get
the
a
overall feel. Yeah.
yeah, the
What's
overall
everybody
feel
think?
for everyone here. And then while you're thinking about that, I'm going to play this message from Imperial. I think this is a good one. Um, so here we go.
Jimmy, Mike, Anthony, Imperial Activity. For me, the past 12 years of Star Wars have been a lot of fun. For me, that's my opinion. For some folks, maybe in bits and pieces. For your Yins too, maybe not so much with some of it, depending on the story. Um, the reason I'm not going to, for me, this is a thing that kind of irks me a little bit, and I'm going to try to keep this short, like I said, is you have it worded as it's Disney Star Wars. And that, for me, again, my opinion, irks me a bit because there's no such thing as a Disney Star Wars. I'm not going to try to change somebody else's mind if that's their way it's set to thinking. Um, it is pretty much known, when we sit down to watch Star Wars, anything, whether it's in a theater, we do in our homes on Disney Plus, first thing that comes on the screen is Lucasfilm, not Disney. Folks also have it set in their minds that Lucasfilm is pretty much told how to make different things and put different things into Star Wars. I also do not believe that. I'm very fortunate to have folks I consider friends, and I'm Patreons too, channel members too, for small YouTube channels that know folks in places. And every once in a while, those friends have different little channel member meetings, Patreon meetings that they do in live streams that they kept private. And once in a great while, they get to be able to share little bits of information of things that they hear that do come from, we'll say, inside places. I think you know what I'm saying without me having to say it. So I'm very much assured whenever I hear these things every once in a great while that what most of the rest of the fandom and whatnot thinks how Lucasfilm is run is not the way that it's run. It is run the way that one would think a company is. When the company's name is on the outside of the building, what happens on the inside of the building is done by the folks that run the company. But that's my thoughts. Keeping it on the positive side of, yeah, pretty much everything that we've gotten. I can't really say I'm disappointed by anything because I don't. Jimmy may know this about me. Mike may be learning a little bit that I don't really have expectations. So with that, I can never be let down by anything. that's coming up. Yeah, I follow spoilers and stuff. I don't latch onto them because some of it may turn out to be not come to fruition. But that's my thoughts on the past 12 years of Star Wars and looking forward to might be a little thinner coming up, but there will be more. And I would love to hear all those stories.
All right. So I think Imperial, we called it this because that's the title of the article.
Mm,
And then, it is the Disney era, not the George Lucas era anymore, I guess. But it's Star Wars is Star Wars. Um,
absolutely.
Looking at the chat, we've got thumbs up from Tahu. Serious Star Wars gives a thumbs up. Pop Tiger gives a thumbs up. I'm assuming from that that Imperial is giving us a thumbs up as well. I will say I got some other people in here. Rydell something I can't even. Right, Widow says, when you consider the variety of directors, producers, actors, etc., I think they've done very well producing quality content. May not always be what fans expecting or hoping for, but the fun new content that has been created has grown the fan base, including me. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And I didn't become one until 2019, so I mean, that's pretty
Mm,
new. Mickey
mhm.
Cat 179 says Mando, Grogu, and company, and it has like 47 hearts and a bunch of fire. Surfing Pikachu says Rebels is so heavily glazed. I would imagine someone named Surfing underscore Pikachu would say. And then Robbie Ruiz 4848 says the acolyte in the last three Star Wars movies were utter trash because they deny that Anakin was the chosen one. Other than that, the IG, the rest are good. So I don't think. I mean, I don't agree with Robbie, but I mean,
It's his opinion.
like yeah, his opinion with the whole Anakin thing. And I think as I was reading it, I think we should do either this or on the other show. We should do have anything really reset because I mean that was a big gripe in
Mm,
the acolyte. But those are some other people's things. Let's go ahead and we'll move on. And we also got what did he say? He goes, "I say mine's a thumbs up by way of words." There you go, sir. Absolutely. Um,
good old Yinzer.
Yinzer. He's a Yinzer,
I,
folks.
I caught the yins in there.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, all right. Yeah. Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Again, sharing my screen. Come on, Jimmy. So we got Disney's shows. Here we go. Let me take off my banners because there's got to be an easier way to do this. I got to figure it out. But all right. Over here, 47,000 clicks later. All right. So the first big one, the Mando shows up. Boom, success.
Mm,
Got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it on a Friday morning before school started. I got it in once and then I watched it a second time. And then right after that, the network crashed and people weren't getting to watch it.
oh,
Um, so I was pretty pumped for that. But and then they've released, I'm not sure if I had these in the right order. I was just kind of throwing them up here. We've got Kenobi came out with mixed reviews, the Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Ahsoka, and of course the Acolytes. And we had
mhm,
3 seasons of Mando. We'll talk about the other 2 that are getting second seasons here pretty soon, and a possible second season of Obi-Wan now that we've.
mhm.
What are your thoughts on the shows, Mike? Like you tore through these.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, once again, kind of like the movies, it started out with the cultural phenomenon. Like The
yeah,
Mandalorian, to me, I wasn't back into Star Wars as hardcore as I am now. So The Mandalorian came out of nowhere for me. I don't have cable, so I don't see commercials for anything. I rarely ever see trailers for anything. It just boom showed up on the screen. And at first I was like, what is this? I didn't know where it fit in, how it fit in, but I liked it, you know? And you see Baby Yoda, there was all this can where is this Baby Yoda? Is it where's this when does this take place? It was all just crazy. It just
yeah,
exploded. And everybody loved it. And it's gonna be Star Wars' next movie. And then, from there, I started paying attention and one of the things that came, of course, Andor. I love Rogue One. So, having the opportunity to explore the Cassian Andor character, just phenomenal. Book of Boba Fett, I did not like when it at first, but then it just took a mindset shift to realize this is a spaghetti western. Just enjoy an old spaghetti western, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And Kenobi was good. Ahsoka. I hadn't watched Rebels before I watched Ahsoka, but I enjoyed Ahsoka without having that knowledge. But now I mean, I felt at the time it was fan service to all the people that were into Rebels and whatnot. I still think it was and is, but great show. I think it, we'll talk about, the numbers and stuff, but had a pretty good following. Just really fan service for the animation heads. And then the accolade, all the baggage that comes with that. We talked the accolade to death. I enjoyed it. I think you enjoyed it. Problems with it here and there, but 6 series, you know, I I can't complain any of them, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I think oh, I love Mando season 1. I mean, episode 3 of Mando season 1 is probably still my favorite episode of The Mandalorian, the rescue. And then, we had Mando season 2 came out. I had some issues with 3. I think they lost their way. The Book of Boba Fett for me. Okay, when I was finished with that series, I was like, oh, for me, it looked like they felt like they'd done a port. And I know this was like the COVID time and things like that as well, and
Mm,
whatever. But I still didn't land for me. Now I have not sat down and watched it in a binging format where like I
yeah.
just watch back to back to back to back to back to episodes. So I would like to give that a rewatch before I pass final judgment, but it did not. There was a lot more that I disliked than I liked in that series, but it's still more Star Wars. Andor, of course, I loved, even though it was slow and aggravating sometimes when nothing would happen on an episode. And
Mhm,
Ahsoka, absolutely loved. We got Balin Skull, we got Shin, we got some new characters. I mean, I love those characters. Being a Rebels fan, Kenobi, I have my ups and downs with as well. I did not think it was as good as it should have been. That's my opinion. But then, of course, there were parts of it that were just absolutely insane good.
mhm,
Um, just there's parts of that like I'll just sit down and watch like scenes from episodes because I think they're so good. It has nothing to do with like specific characters or anything like that. I just didn't like. I don't know. I expected something different. Again, that's just like what I said in the podcast. Like that's probably my fault. But I remember watching the first 2 episodes while we were at Celebration and being like, "Oh, I've been excited for this."
yeah. Well, I think it has a lot to do with the time it was filmed in too and the limitations, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And then of course Acolyte, I love 4 out of the 8 episodes. I'm okay with 2 more, and then 2 of them I'm like, what was that?
it's great.
So but I love Kenobi, was disappointed in Acolyte. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought the Acolyte brought us a lot. And again, it's kind of like what people have been saying. Patrick said, and other people have said too. I think Tahu said as well. Is there's parts of these shows that I absolutely love. All the speeches in Andor. You got Luthen Rail giving some of those. What have I sacrificed speech, and you've got
Mhm,
Marva, her speech. I mean, you have so many great things that come from this. Everything that Balin Skull says is glorious. Uh, and Kenobi has things where he talks with, when he's talking with Leia. I mean, I almost tear up every time I see that scene where he talks about her mom and her dad. I mean,
mhm,
it's one of the most heart wrenching scenes in Star Wars, in my opinion. The Acolyte, brand new story, amazing lightsaber battle. So yeah, there's a
mhm.
lot of cool things in there, but um, you know, I the structures are weird to me. The money they're spending is weird to me. Um, I just
Yeah, I would definitely say the money that they spend on some of these series is just it's not unsustainable. You know what I mean? Like when we got the numbers for the Acolyte, it told the tale. Like you understand why it's not going forward. Like they
100%.
spent way too much money. There had to be a way to tell those stories in a cheaper fashion to, make it a more sustainable product. But another thing I find that these series um a hurdle that they have, you know, we all grew up at a time where you had seasons of television, like your favorite
Mhm.
television show. You know it was going to go away for the summer, but you know it's coming back in the fall. With all these online series, you never know when they go away, when they're coming back. And oftentimes they come back. It's been so long since you've lost your place. You don't know what's going on. I was watching the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power series.
Yeah.
I watched the whole first season, loved it, and then I started the second season, and it took me like 3 episodes. I was falling asleep at the end of some of them because I had to get reinvested. It had been so long since the last season that
Yeah.
I'm watching these episodes like, "Wait, who's this? What's going on here? What," you know? And that's one of the things that makes it real difficult, I think, in the streaming or with these shows, is not traditional, and maybe people have a different idea of it. We've had 40 years of it going a certain way, and now it's all different. I just feel like an old man on my rocking chair on the porch. But
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
definitely different than what we're used to, but we're also getting like, we'd never have gotten anything like this in our
no,
time.
that is for sure. I mean,
I mean,
even
A-Team and Knight Rider or Airwolf, like those are exciting
mhm,
TV shows. I mean, I'm probably
right.
we went back and
But you
rewatched them
look at
now.
them now, they're terrible.
Yeah. So, um, Jedi
But
Niner
yeah,
said,
production value is definitely
yeah,
way up.
I think the best way I described how I felt about Acolyte was it seemed awkward. Yeah, there were some things that
There were some awkward seasons, yeah.
there were some things in it. I feel it's weird too. 4 years to make it. She talks about
Mhm,
pouring over everything was flawless. She should have had a bigger book
yeah,
and things over. But
mhm.
I've never written anything
Right.
like that. Tyler always picks up on your. He called himself your mockingbird, I think.
Love it.
But yeah, so Mandalorian had, obviously came out. It like we thought that the Mandalorian was going to reunite the fan base, like Mando was going to save the Star Wars galaxy, um, and then it did for 6, 8
Mhm,
episodes, and then things went. Season 2 had a bit of a fall off, and then season 3, um, kind of a mess, in my opinion. But the numbers say, but Kenobi came out and had a huge opening night, 1.3 billion minutes of viewing, according to Nielsen, which is bigger than Mando season three's opening of 823 million. And it concluded with a strong 860 million for its finale in minutes. At the time of this article, this actually came out, and then right after this article came out was when all the stuff with
Gonna
with Ewan McGregor
too,
saying that they've been um,
teasing.
for a season 2.
Mhm.
It doesn't have anything on price here. Now I've heard rumblings that most of the budget went to Ewan McGregor, but I hope that's not true.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but
Well, I mean,
20.
he's a superstar.
Yeah,
Bringing him back is gonna be pricey.
yeah. I mean, how many millions of dollars do you need? But yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Tony Gilroy, shooting on location, and they basically made a couple movies, and they're talking about it being a $250 million for 12 episodes. That makes sense, though. I think for Andor, because like they're traveling, they're shooting on location. There's no
Mhm.
volume, which I'm thankful for. Uh,
Yes.
and it has a 96% Rotten Tomatoes. Andor is actually the best reviewed live action Star Wars show or movie,
Mhm.
which is kind of bonkers. I
Critical
mean, I
darling.
why it's, but I mean, I understand also like we have friends of the show that didn't care for it because it wasn't like a family show, and it really wasn't. Um,
No.
what's what Imperial says. Kind of agree with the acolyte at Jedi more part my own fault. Tried with our Republican, it just didn't take to me. I'll tell you what, Imperial, you've got to, yeah, it's tough to sometimes to get into that, but once you do, man, it's some of the best storytelling up there with the High Republic. But I get why people struggled. I had to read Light of the Jedi twice because I didn't feel like I knew the characters. Kind of like what you were saying, Mike, about Rings of Power is not being
Mhm.
invested, and you just didn't know the characters, and it was hard to come into it. Um, Andor says it opened with 624 million minutes, falling to 400 million for its subsequent weeks, and it jumped back up to 674. I don't understand why so many people would like miss everything in the middle, then come back for the finale. Like, how
Yeah.
do you watch a show like that? Like,
Right.
how do you
And I
stop?
don't like,
Like,
is it just a snapshot of like certain weeks? Because I mean, I could definitely see with Andor, starting off checking it out, and then really, maybe you don't watch episode 2, 3, 4 whatever, right away. You watch them a little later, and everybody back in last night. That makes, like you're saying, if these are just numbers of total views, what kind of sense does that make? Like to just watch the first episode and the last episode. That doesn't make any sense. But if these numbers are representative of, opening night views or opening day, or a snapshot of a certain period of time, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who the heck would skip everything in the middle? You'd be
Yeah, I don't
completely lost at the end.
to be honest. They talk about how many minutes each episode made, and I,
Yeah,
I
it's just weird talking about it
yes,
in
people were
this
getting
way.
together
There's no
for stuff.
Nielsen ratings like that. It's minutes.
Yeah.
It's for a different look at it.
I mean, you would think that some of this would go down. So, like for myself, like when we watch Acolyte, my friend Tim
Mhm.
was here, and my wife Molly, and we watch it together. So there's minutes that are not being aired somewhere else.
Right.
Or
Mhm.
the finale of Ahsoka, we had like 6 or 7 people over at the house, and we put up the projector screen and projected
Mhm.
it up on the big wall, and kind of like a little party
Yeah.
for that. So, I mean, you think those numbers would be down because there's like bigger events.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Um,
Wait.
but yeah, I don't know. We got is stoked for it. The opening scene, that even when Toya Park and you guys are really great characters who I wish you killed my sister, prepare to die. So but yeah, the numbers don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Ahsoka, where we at? The mastermind, Dave Filoni. He says this show received positive reviews, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and premiere rating was comparable, 829 million minutes to the opening, and then it declined to an average of about 570 million. See, now he's like averaging these things. Like I don't know. Of course, he's the writer of this article. He can take things the way he wants,
Mhm.
but averaging a second season is announced.
Yeah.
The Acolyte set 100 years before, and then all he talks about really is how much money it costs.
Yeah.
And he
Which, I
tries
mean, honestly, that's the thing with the Acolyte is how much money it cost. I
2.5
think if they
movies
could have
though.
brought it in at a lower budget, maybe there is a season 2, but
See, I tend to think that if it was better well liked, the money wouldn't have been a problem because you're
oh,
looking
yeah,
at
right,
budget,
right.
but you're looking
But
at a budget for the time of almost 2.5 movies. So
mhm,
you don't make a movie for $200 million, a
no,
sci-fi film or anything for
yeah,
less. So you made two with this
mhm,
production value. And like I said before, we had Kev Jenkins on production, design,
mhm,
and he said like we do the same thing we did in the movies we do in the show. So I
mhm.
mean, it was movie level production, and that's the reason a lot of that. So yeah, but anyways, we talk about that. And it has a 78% Rotten Tomatoes by the critics, but of course, before the first episode even aired, it was in the negatives, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
crazy.
Acolyte's premiere ratings were the lowest date for live action Star Wars series, 488 million minutes. So that is disturbing. Like that's half of what some of the other ones are getting.
Yeah,
Dropped out of the top 10, which is unusual for Star Wars. Um, so
and
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's really bananas to me, like, just taking it taking everything aside, like, say we haven't even seen it. It's a whole new Star Wars story, Nobody's seen these characters before for the most part. It's all brand new. There's lightsabers, there's stars, there's so many good things going for it that you would think people would be interested in going on this. Whereas Ahsoka, this is just my opinion, but it seemed like a real niche. You know what I mean? Like these aren't
Mhm.
characters that I mean, they're characters that true fans know, but the casual fan, you might have seen Ahsoka in one of the Mando episodes.
I mean, that's why I put her in
Other than
there.
that,
Give
yeah,
people are reference.
right. For that show to be as successful as it was, to pull the numbers that it was, when to me, just outside of everything, it seems like more of a niche show. Now that we've seen everything, you have different thoughts on everything, but yeah, it's just bananas that the Acolyte. I guess the the pre before it even came out, like you said, the bad reviews and whatnot really
Yeah,
tanked it. I guess.
I guess. I mean, I have coworkers, because that was over the summer. So I have coworkers that I work with, and one of them who loved. We usually, we'd meet up and talk a little Star Wars. Said she didn't even watch it because of all the, oh, it had this, this, and this. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
no. I said people say it has all that, but it really didn't do any of that. So people are getting that's why I wish like people like a guy who loves Star Wars and he's obviously really growing,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of positive like Force Center and all those guys, and hopefully someday us can help spread the positivity and people will get like, oh, how's this series? Hey, it's pretty good, you
Yeah.
know. But you sit
Yeah.
there and the biggest people spreading the most hate, and it's killing shows before it even comes
Yeah.
out. So,
And I know
but
I fall victim to that same sort of thing with a lot of things. There's tons of movies I don't go see just because there's so much information out there about it. And I guess I don't need to do that. And so much negativity.
yeah, for sure. I mean, look at Joker too. Like I haven't seen it yet, and I was pumped.
Yeah.
This is getting destroyed.
Yeah. I got,
Yeah, so,
I have no desire to see it.
but yeah, the first one was nuts, and then
Yeah.
they're just talking about this one being completely. But I'll still go see it, hopefully. Um, but then we move into, well, I guess,
Animation.
yeah. I mean, so we have a ton here, and we are kind of running low on time, but we had Tales of the Empire, we had Tales of the Jedi, we had Rebuild. I put the Lego stuff in here.
Hmm.
The Bad Batch, 3 seasons of that. You had Visions, 2 seasons of Visions. You
Hmm.
had what the seventh final season of Clone Wars is a shortened version, but my God, it's some amazing Star Wars
Hmm.
battles, especially those last parts with Ahsoka, and of course, um,
Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels. So, but before we move on to this real quick, thumbs up or thumbs down on the uh on the TV shows. Like, for me it's a thumbs way up. Like, I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
more to love than there is to hate.
Hmm.
Um I mean, I didn't love every episode of everything, but you
Nope.
know, um I mean,
Oh,
I
no.
don't think if I've ever loved everything about something,
Right.
you
Oh,
know.
I enjoyed every single, um, every single series. Not like you said, not every single minute, but I enjoyed every single series.
Yeah. I would give it a thumbs up. It's a shame people put so much weight on what, yeah, it's
Yeah.
killing me, man. I'm too old for that. I plan on seeing the Joker. Yeah, me too. Red Niner, I plan on seeing it too. It's not. It takes a back seat though, because if it's not getting these super high ratings and coming off,
Yeah.
I'm on
Especially with
not.
how much it costs to go to the cinema anymore.
Yeah,
It's
thumbs up
just
for good
it's
on
a
that
lot
one.
to invest.
I and I think Mike made an outline for this article, for this topic, and I think one of the things was one of the questions was, is the animated series is better than the movie or the TV show? And I think that people who don't watch animation because it's a cartoon, and I was guilty of that for a long time, are missing out on some amazing Star Wars. I mean, there's so
Absolutely.
many things, and just um, and then very big thumbs up on all Star Wars animation.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm looking at this list right now, and I don't see anything that I didn't love. And I'm not an anime guy, but I loved Visions. Like, I thought it
Oh,
was
yeah.
so cool, so interesting, but I'm also not, I won't say it, but, I was gonna say, I'm a little more open-minded than some people, so I'm able to, like, appreciate things,
I loved Visions. It just the way that they gave so many different creators an opportunity to play in the Star Wars sandbox. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Show
yeah,
style, show us your story. It's a phenomenal series.
and I thought the second one was maybe better than the first just because the second one had all those different studios telling Star Wars stories in their native culture, and
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah, I can't get enough of that sort of stuff,
I am
Like,
blown away, um, by it. I mean, just absolutely knocked it out of the park, I thought.
mhm. Yeah, I'm
Um,
not one of these Star Wars fans that says I want something different and then I complain when I get it.
yeah.
I want something different. I want everything. I want more of everything.
Jen says, I think they've done great, tons of content, and sure, there's going to be some misses here or there, but I personally think the Bad Batch, in particular, has been such a masterfully done project. Yeah, Bad Batch, man,
Mhm,
everyone's complaining. I mean, myself, if we'd have been recording prior to the Bad Batch coming out, I was like, oh, what is this about? And we got a
mhm,
little taste of them and Dave Filoni does a pretty good job. He gives us a little taste of the Bad Batch in Clone Wars season 7. Uh,
mhm.
just does things like that and gives us those two sisters, which that's not some of my favorite stuff, but like the Ahsoka stuff there is awesome. Then we get into Bad Batch, and it's just nuts.
Yes. What a great series that was.
Yeah, the Bad Batch, in my opinion, looks right next to like, yeah, I,
Yeah.
yeah, and surprisingly, I mean, when season 3 of the Mando was coming out and in tune with episode or season 2 of Bad Batch, they were coming out on the same day. I would come home and watch Bad Batch first because I wanted to know what happened, and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
"Let's see. Well, I'll get to Mando when I get home. When I'm done."
Hmm. Yeah, myself, I didn't get the Bad Batch until I think when season 3 came out. Then I finally went back and binged it all as I was before I got into but it just first came out, just seeing that image up on Disney Plus, the thumbnail for it, and I was so intrigued. I had no idea. I hadn't watched Clone Wars. I hadn't watched Rebels. I hadn't dove into the deep end yet. When I did, man, oh, just such a masterful. And like we said on everything here, like not every episode's great, but the whole arc of the story just something else. I mean, like you said, I think you said this during one of the season 3 recaps. Is it's hard to discern real life and the bad animation got so good. Like you could almost get lost in it, and it's a live action show. It was just a great, it's just a masterpiece, really.
Yeah, I would like to see Rebels done in Bad Batch animation.
Animation style, yeah.
Yeah, bad. That's the only thing with Rebels is the animation. I mean, you get used to it as you're watching
Right.
it.
Yep. I
It
think
looks
when I started watching, that's one of the things I said to you. I'm
yeah,
liking this, but the animation's a little weird.
yeah, but you get used to it, and like those are the
Uh-huh.
characters. But um, Tales of the Empire. I hated Barris Offee.
Yeah.
Hated Barris Offee. By the end of those 3 12-minute episodes, I'm like,
Hmm.
damn. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm a strange Star Wars fan. Like, I went on this journey, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. I wanted her to get sliced in half by Vader. I wanted some vicious, terrible ending for her. And then I was
Hmm.
blown away by how it
Yes.
ended. And I loved it. I was just like, I'd never even thought about that. Like, that was amazing.
Mm.
Not what I
Yep.
wanted. I wasn't a big baby about it, but I just thought that
Yeah.
was beautiful
Yeah.
art for her. Um,
It's sort of
but
like the turn in Game of Thrones. Like if you read the books, like Jamie Lannister's character, you freaking hate him from the start. And then once you learn his backstory and more about him, maybe you don't come to love him, but you start to understand him.
Jedi Nine, you need to watch Visions. Watch both seasons. The very first episodes
Mhm.
of each one are my favorites, but man, they're just so unique. And they're not long.
Yes.
You can get through them in a
Right.
couple viewings, couple 20-minute viewings or whatever, but you should check them out. Um, yeah, I mean, I would give animation 2 thumbs up. Then you got Rebuild the Galaxy, which
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh God.
Also, the Jedi Count Dooku stuff was phenomenal. I mean, I love Ahsoka. I don't really know if we needed that stuff in Tales of the Jedi to set up the stuff that happens in Clone Wars. I know what they were doing, but I'd rather
Mhm.
have seen something else. I think, and that's hard for me to say because I like eat up the content because I love her so much.
Yeah.
But you know,
I liked exploring Dooku, his
that
character a
was
little more.
phenomenal,
I,
phenomenal
yeah.
story. And just
Hmm.
and that's the thing too, is like it doesn't have to be 12 episodes or 15 episodes. I
Yep.
mean, these are 3 10 to 15-minute clips, and it
Hmm.
told so much, and there's so much power behind it.
Yeah.
But again, I also love like the last 3 4 episodes of the Clone Wars season 7 with the Siege of Mandalore, and then what happens on the
Yeah.
ships, bringing Maul back. I mean, that battle between that fight scene between Maul and Ahsoka might be like one of my top. I think we just ranked Jedi battles, and I can't remember where I put it, but it's way up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. For sure.
the live action stuff. The way they did it was just you could tell it was different than other animated lightsaber battles because they mocap these people doing this actual fight scene, and it was just, I
Yeah.
mean, beautifully done. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say, but thumbs
Yeah.
way up for.
Right. And
Oh,
like the just on the Rebuild the Galaxy, how great would it be if they just had a mini series like that just in the can? So when you release a stinker like Acolyte, not that we think it's a stinker, but a lot of people did,
yeah,
you can drop this. Here's some goodness for you. Like cleanse the palate,
like
have
Lego,
fun.
the Galaxy kind of did for us, right? Or for people. I don't
Exactly.
remember
Yep.
um, but yeah,
Love to see more of that.
we will need to push on through this. We'll get into this last part here, and then we'll. I'm
There's just so
assuming.
much to discuss in this
Yeah.
whole topic.
Let me see here. Forget what I'm doing again. I've only done it 47 times, but share screen. All right. So we got upcoming stuff, and we've got the Lando's stuff. We've got Andor season 2. We've got Skeleton Crew. We've got Ahsoka season 2. We've got episode 10, which I know Mike wanted to talk about a lot more. But, yeah. So how do you feel about this stuff? Like, I'm super pumped for all these.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Skeleton Crew. I mean, we've talked about this, plenty, and this is kind of why we started the show, because we're going to do the after show things like we were doing with the other shows and whatnot in recent times. But yeah, I'm super excited for Skeleton Crew to come out over the holidays. Looks like a lighthearted, good fun. Andor season 2. I mean, I can't. That has to be the most excited I am for anything coming out that's on the docket. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I just love the direction they're taking that, and of course, Rogue One, my favorite movie. I love the Andor series. Getting to see it's essentially three or four movies. The way
Yeah,
they're doing it with the blocks. I don't think they can possibly disappoint me.
yeah.
Ahsoka season 2. Interesting to see where that might go. What are they going to do with Balin?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
you
That's
know,
my
yeah,
yeah.
and
I'm gonna trust in Dave to do the right thing. We'll see
mhm,
what that is. I don't know what that
yeah,
is. I
but Lando, that movie's got to be good with the hands that it's in. We don't know when it's going to start or when it's coming, but hopefully this isn't one of those things that they announce and it goes nowhere.
yeah. Another
And then of
thing.
course episode 10. Man, when is it going to when are they going to sew that it out to us?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, delayed already, and filming and stuff like that. And of course, yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for all these things. And then you also have Ryan Johnson's trilogy, the Ben Hoffman Weiss trilogy. None of these things have ever been canceled. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron has come back into rotation. Josh Trank, I don't know what's happening. Colin Trevorrow's stuff. I mean, he got booted off of episode 9, so I don't think he'll be coming back. David
Yeah.
S. Goyer stuff, Damon Lindenhoff, Guillermo del Toro, you had Taika Waititi, and you had Kevin Feige. Like, to announce that Kevin Feige was going to do something and then not do it,
Yeah.
he's like the biggest guy in movies.
Seems bonkers,
Um,
doesn't it?
Seems bonkers to me. So I mean, there's all these things out there, and why are we waiting for movies? Like, some people are afraid to make decisions. We see
Yeah.
that place all the time. I mean, I don't want to get too transparent, but we're dealing with some of that stuff in the real world right now.
hmm
And in my job and things like that, people are afraid to make decisions and do what's best. And you know, and I can't imagine it's easy. Like, it's not easy to be in
No.
charge because it does come down on you. You're the one who's going to be getting hammered. But I think if you're
Mhm.
getting paid billions of dollars to do things, it makes it, it softens the blow a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I would think so. You can afford to be out of work for a little while.
yeah,
But
and
yeah,
this, yeah, go ahead.
all this, it drives me crazy that we know all this is out there. I would be happier not to know that any of this was,
Kind of in
on
the
the
same boat.
on the back burner. I would be happy not knowing any of it. Let me know when you're sure it's going to go forward. Otherwise, I don't want to know. It's just, I mean, it's nice to know that these creators, a lot of them, you've heard of and have done some really great things. It's nice to know that Star Wars is out there talking to them and,
Yeah,
thinking about it. But man, until there's something concrete, I really don't want to know about it.
you know. Yeah, so we have all that, and then of course there's some little things here. It talks about the park, talks about
Mhm.
they sold 1.2 million lightsabers. Those things are, I mean, like
They're expensive.
$175 if you make them in the park. If you
hmm
buy the lightsaber handles, like, they're even more. So,
Yeah.
and then it talks about the Star Cruiser, which failed miserably, $1 billion.
Yeah. I don't know who thought that
Well,
was a good idea.
it was way too priced for how short it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'm sure there's some people that could afford that and had the time of their lives, but for someone to make that decision, thought that that was a good idea, that there's enough people out there to make that sustainable, that person is out of their mind.
Yeah, and so, so you have that. I mean, it talks about franchise and merchandising, which they don't really give numbers a lot of times, but there's some sources are saying that Star Wars merch generated more than $1 billion for the company last year. Of course, he takes a jabs at Accolade in this, which I think was unnecessary, but
Yeah.
$12 billion total in revenue of 4 million. So, I mean, you should go out and you should read this article. It's interesting. It's definitely slated, but in the end, I mean, he says he thinks that they're doing okay. Could it be better? I mean, yeah. I mean, everything can always be better, unless
Sure,
nothing's
sure.
gonna be perfect. But
I'm sure the shareholders wish everything made $2 billion. I mean, but on a whole, they're profitable, where they're putting out stuff that we're enjoying. Another thing we didn't touch on is publishing. You know what I mean?
oh
And
yeah,
I don't have any numbers on that, but the uh, High Republic stuff seems to be doing great. You know, there's selling tons of comics, all the publishing out there, and I don't people don't as much as they used to, so I don't know what slice of the pie that all is, but it seems to be pretty successful. I mean, the High Republic led to the Accolade, which wasn't their greatest fiscal accomplishment, but they must have it must like the books must have done enough for them to take that spot, So
yeah. Um, I mean, it's just if we take a quick average look here, like we got massive Star Wars fans on here watching us, listening to us, and talking with us,
they have
and
to be massive Star Wars fans and still be with us after an hour and
and
12 minutes.
yeah, they haven't. Some of them haven't read, and some of it didn't land for some of them.
Mhm.
So
But on a whole, I think everybody has a positive view of most of it. So I think
yeah,
if most people are positive, I think they must be doing a pretty good job.
yeah. So I mean, for me, I think Star Wars is doing fine. I've liked more than I've disliked. I've not really
Mhm.
disliked anything that makes me want to go on like a hate campaign like people
Yeah.
have. I didn't love everything, but I mean, I, I don't know what I mean. Marvel. I don't love everything in Marvel. I don't love everything in DC. I haven't loved everything in Game of Thrones or Harry Potter or whatever. I mean, no franchise is perfect, and they've been going for as long as they have been going.
Mhm.
Pretty impressive. So, I mean, I don't know, Mike. What are your thoughts on is to answer that question? Is Star Wars is Disney bad at Star Wars, Mike?
I would say no. No, we have Star Wars. That to me, that's the biggest thing is it's out there. We have Star Wars. Still being we still have more coming. Like there's if you're far enough down there, you're not entirely sure what's coming. But just looking ahead, we know we have Skeleton Crew coming. We know we've got the Mando movie. We know for season 2. There's stuff out be better than when we had nothing to in the future to look forward to. We just had our fingers crossed and hoped that something would come out.
Yeah,
So yeah, on a whole, thank you. We appreciate it.
yeah. I mean, I think that to answer the question, is Disney bad at Star Wars? No, I think they're getting their footing. Just remember the hate that George Lucas got for the prequels,
Hmm.
and he's the maker. And all those people are like, "Oh, the prequels and George Lucas." And these are some of the same people that were bashing him not too
Yeah.
long ago. So, no, I think they're
Yep.
doing
I think.
fine. Could it be better? Yes. Some of it great. Absolutely. I mean, we got so many new
Hmm.
characters. We got the whole Rebels crew. We got Ahsoka.
Hmm.
Well, not. I mean, she doesn't come from that era, but or this era. But we got more of her. We got Balin Skull. I mean, we've got we got the Mando. We got Grogu. I mean, there's so many things that we've gotten from the Disney um, era of Star Wars that I mean, I don't know. I just think that people are crazy. I also know that, we probably have more viewers if we're out here screaming and hating and saying negative things all the time, which
Yeah.
that's happen on
It's
this
not going
channel.
to happen.
If I
Not
don't
going to
like something,
happen.
I'll say it, but I'm not going to try to ruin it for
Right.
other people.
Nope.
Uh, Tahoe says I concur. It's a no. They're doing a great job. They're giving us the goods. Yeah, I agree, man.
Mhm.
So
Not
that
to interject another category too, because we're already long here, but video games as well.
oh yeah,
Three major releases. The Jedi Survivor game's phenomenal, and then
huge.
the latest Outlaws. I can't speak on it. I played it, but seems to be a pretty awesome game.
It's the most Star Wars game I've seen. Again, I've said it a lot of times on the main show is I need more time to sit down and just play
Yeah.
Star Wars. So, but we've had 3 years between films, twice, 16 years of dark times. These past 12 years, in my
Mhm.
opinion, we're doing all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
recent
Well
hero
said.
activity. We're doing all right. Like it could be
Well
worse,
said.
it could be better. Mike, like you said, at least we're getting it.
Mhm.
And I think everyone here is probably in the same boat. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here listening to
Yeah.
us spout nonsense about stuff. But I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks for sticking with
Absolutely.
this. Um, and Tahu, we are going to look into your suggestion from last week about
Mhm.
cameos and things like that. Just taking a little bit more research time to kind of lock down an idea. So if you have any more ideas for shows, let us know. Um, any
Yeah, we
final?
are. Yeah, we're really trying to do well. We are really trying to do by our fans. 24 people a week watching this, and it's not a lot, but you guys are all important to us, and we want to try to do our best and present the best, show that we can. I mean, I do this regardless. And Jimmy's my best friend. Have a set time to sit down and talk to him, but at the same time, while I'm talking to my good buddy, I want to put best for the best and feedback. We appreciate you being here. I mean, and for 20 minutes to listen to us drone on. You guys are awesome.
No, hockey season starts
Hockey season
tomorrow.
starts tomorrow.
We're in the playoffs of
Baseball season's almost over. Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Yes,
like
hit the
point
like.
nine, hit that like button. I'm so thankful for you guys. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week, folks. If you have any things, like Tahu and I have been talking on Instagram, hit us up on Instagram, message us. You can message Mailman on his Instagram as well. I think it's like your only social media. But if
No,
you want to
if you
Mailman,
under my name today, I got my Blue Sky link. I just got on Blue Sky. Somebody
okay.
told me it was for old people, so
It is
I'm
for
on
old
there.
people. Kids, I asked my students are like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Perfect. That's what I'm joining."
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I want to thank everybody. Another great show. Um, I want to thank the Hollywood Reporter for the article. And so, go Panthers. You mean the who's the Panthers in hockey?
His
That's
rugby
Tampa.
team, right?
Oh, is that
Oh,
rugby or
yeah, the Florida Panthers.
Florida
Well, he was
Panthers?
talking about his Florida Panthers, but he was talking
Okay,
about his rugby team earlier. I thought
one
they were the
where
Panthers, but I could be wrong. It was like an hour ago.
yeah. All right, everyone, have a great day. Tahu, have a great day.
Thank
I
you.
know your day's just kind of getting
Yeah.
started, sir. And everybody else, have a good evening. And again, reach out to us, talk to us, let us know what's up, and we'll be back next week.